What's up, guys? Starting to become a very valuable ritual here at Fight Bananas. Fight predictions. We're doing 2, 3, 4 a week. Aaron the dog, how you doing, my man?
Good. First week out, got the plus 200 dog in Alexis Davis, and she made me look pretty smart. She looked like, she looked better than I could have honestly hoped in that decision win. So that was great. But
it really was. It was a great performance.
Had a
We've been nailing a couple of these dogs. I think kind of hit on Derek Lewis a couple weeks ago, but that's the fight game, and that's a perfect lead into this. We're talking about Casey Kenney, Dominick Cruz, the main event of the prelims for UFC 259. The main card's incredible. The prelims are incredible. There's 3, 4, 5 different even main events that can main event a fight night, and to me, this is one of them. This is one of those. Cruz is a veteran, been in multiple big, high-level main events. Aaron, what do you think? Do you think Cruz is a top 5 of all time of those lower weight classes? Mighty Mouse, Cejudo's, Faber, Cruz, like he's in that ballpark, right?
I mean, he's ahead of, I think, Cejudo still. Cejudo has a little bit more left to prove to me. Yeah, I know he did knock out Cruz. I get that.
Wow.
But, I mean, we're forgetting a lot of MMA history if we're moving Cejudo in front of Cruz. Cruz's only loss early on was at like 19 years old to Uriah Faber, when Uriah Faber was like no other fighter in the world at that point.
Right.
And then he came back, avenged that loss, it's like you go back and most of these guys aren't fighting anymore, but these guys were real guys back then. The Ian McCalls, the Scott Jorgensens. I mean, he blew these guys out of the water for the most part. And it's like I think he brought a fighting style that hadn't been seen with his footwork, with his movement, that made his stand-up and his takedowns kind of seamlessly together. And it's one of those things that I think that at this point we're starting to see that his kind of athletic game is not a game that transfers as you get older. He's 35 years old now. So that movement is not quite as much. We saw a younger, faster, crisper guy in Garbrandt do Cruz's movement better 2 years ago now. Then we see him get starched by Cejudo and saying he smells cigarettes and alcohol on the referee. I mean, saying things that we just see this a lot where a guy, he starts to get things out of the ring, especially when he has time off. He's been injured. How much of Cruz's career has been lost to injuries, and he's still being mentioned as one of the 2 or 3 best in the lower weight classes. Nothing but respect here. But I mean, the last 2 fights have been against 2 of the best also. So there's that to take into consideration also.
Right.
Is Casey Kenney one of the best yet? Not sure.
Right. There you go. So let me just give a little bit of a Dominick Cruz, 35 years young, 22-3 lifetime. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, and he is the dog at plus 115 right now. Casey Kenney on a 3-fight winning streak, 29 years young, 16-2 lifetime, and he's the minus 145 favorite. I think the odds, I think they're right. I do think they're right. You got to go with the younger fighter, momentum, 3 wins in a row. We're not sure where Cruz is. This could be after the card, we're going to be like, oh, wow, Cruz is back and he's in the title hunt. Or, guys, he's passing the torch to the younger generation. It's one of those two. Aaron, you're the guest, man. I'll let you run with it. You pick first, and then we'll go back and forth on your fight prediction, Casey Kenney versus Dominick Cruz.
Yeah, and I'll definitely get into this and have a clearer picture as the week goes on, because I don't stop looking at fights once I have my pick until, I'm really locked in. I've made a lot of switches. And I am Aaron the dog, but I don't always go with the dog. Casey Kenney, 9 of his last 10 at that. It's only loss coming to Merab Dvalishvili, who Merab is one of the 3 or 4 best guys, I think, in this division, to be honest with you. I know this is probably a scorching hot take, but I like him more than Aljo moving forward in the bantamweight division. I get that scorching hot. I get it, but I'm just saying that is where I really, really, take impression when that's your only loss. He made Nathaniel Wood, the oldest prospect, in the bantamweight division, look slow, look one-dimensional, look confused. I mean, I can go back to when Casey Kenney defeated a 6-pound overweight Manny Bermudez before his downturn. That was the first of his downturn when Manny Bermudez was at the top of his game, the Bermudez Triangle. I was at that fight live. I was all over Bermudez that night.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Casey is just very, very physical. He's very fast. He's very well-rounded. He only has, I think, 1 or 2 KOs, but he hits way harder than a 1 or 2 KO type of guy. You know,
I was going to hit on that. It's weird that he only has those couple knockouts because I see that when I watch his fight. I think he's got a ton of power. Sometimes it's one of those things, you know, you run into a guy with a great chin or you run into a guy that hasn't had the chin leave yet. So I think I agree with you. It's so great that you said that point. He's one of those two. I do think he has more power. And let's see if Cruz's chin is kind of going away. Age, Cejudo. Let's just see.
This is the way I feel about this fight is that he's bigger, stronger, and faster. Is he smarter? Or is he smart enough to hang in there with the smarts that Dominick Cruz is going to bring to this game? I just don't really see the holes that Cruz is going to be able to exploit at 35 years old that maybe he could have exploited 5 years ago. You know, this like Casey is not a guy who lunges after his shots. He really keeps himself controlled, doesn't get off balance. I don't doubt that at the UFC Apex, he'll be able to get a hold of Dominick Cruz also. And I think when he gets a hold of him, even if he can't get him down, he gets control against that cage. And I think he is able to kind of maintain that control from physicality. And I don't really know where Cruz's gas tank is at this point. But, you know, I mean, he looked fine against against Garbrandt in 5 rounds.
Right.
Against
cardio, I don't think anything. And to kind of rebuttal that right away, this is only a 3-round fight instead of a 5-round fight.
But we've seen before sometimes that fighters who are so used to 5-round fights overestimate when they go back down to that 3-round fight and sometimes have more gas problems than these 5-round fights. We've seen this with Anthony Smith a few times. I know Dominick Cruz is not Anthony Smith, but we've seen this with a few other fighters. In 25 days, we might see this with Tyron Woodley, where still in 3 rounds, he doesn't get it going, or he gets it going too much and he pays for it, or, you know, we don't know. But I don't think it's because it's 3 rounds for a guy who hasn't fought 3 rounds in, 7 years or whatever. I don't think that equals, but we also saw Cruz when he was against Mitsugaki. He really unloaded, but Casey Kenney is not Mitsugaki, but I don't think Mitsugaki had been KO'd either before Dominick Cruz. So, but also it's apples and oranges here. But the other thing with Kenney that I really like is that he's a former flyweight. And he really, I think that probably took away from some KOs at 125, really killing his body, because I don't know how this guy made 125. How he's making 135 is nuts. He looks like he's a small guy, but he's really thick. Like, I just don't know how to really explain that if that doesn't make sense to people. But at least before the Bermudez fight, I was thinking Bermudez is going to be so much bigger, so much stronger. And like even with the 6-pound advantage, he still wasn't. So yeah, I got Kenney in this fight. And man, I know I'm the decision guy. I really love the decisions. Right. I am going to go with a decision here, but man, if he gets a finish, oh my goodness, we have a legit contender on our hands if he finishes Dominick Cruz, because the amount of stock that Cejudo went up once he got that finish, man. Right. That really, if he got a decision, I don't think we're talking about Cejudo like we are here. So I think it kind of is the same for Kenney. If he goes in there and just gets a 29-28, if he gets a 30-27, that's going to speak more about Cruz. So then everybody's just going to say Cruz is done. Kenny's not going to get any credit for that win. We see this plenty of times. But I feel Kenney gets a decision here. I'm not, rooting for any fighter particularly in this fight, but if I saw a finish from either guy, particularly Kenney, it really gets me excited for what's next.
Okay. Hey, a lot there you said really hits home, and I get it, but he is plus 115 dog. When you can get an all-timer, a Mount Rushmore for a lower weight kind of a guy in Dominick Cruz, 22-3. I know he's on the 2-fight losing streak, but it's both to high-end main events. Cody at his highest high, and Cejudo, who might be in the top 3-4 there as well. I think we hate saying it, but those are really good losses. I'll take Dominick Cruz all day long. And maybe my thread of this whole UFC 259, and I don't want to spoil a lot of other stuff because we'll do other fight predictions. And I've kind of talked with James Lynch about this card. I think the IQ of the winners will be exponentially just like will be in your face. I think Dominick Cruz's in-ring IQ, him watching tape with Casey Kenney. If there's any hole with that Casey Kenney's showed in the last 2, 3, 4 fights, even during the wins, I think Dominick Cruz will find that hole. I just like him here a lot. I think, and also too, I like guys with the chip on their shoulder, and you can feel Dominick Cruz has always had that chip on the shoulder, always kind of coming back from injury. The guy doesn't have to. He's got the money. He's got the desk job as well. I remember when he did come back and he got that knockout, like you could just tell, like he just had that chip in the shoulder. And now it's like, hey, I'm off 2 losses, and now you're going to put me on the prelims? Like, you're going to put me on the prelims? I like Dominick Cruz a lot in this. There's just a lot of motivation. I think he knows, you know, dude, he thinks he is an all-timer. He thinks he is a big name. He thinks he is a pay-per-view main event type of fighter. And now if he loses a prelim fight, there's not that much more. Like, there really isn't. And he wants to stay on the desk. I don't think he can, maybe crazy to me to say, you can't go on a 4-fight losing streak and be on the desk still. Like, BJ Penn doesn't do anything for UFC. Like, I think he needs to almost save his job with a win, if that makes sense. Ooh, I just think the IQ and everything else he brings. I think Dominick Cruz gets a UD for sure.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Well, I mean, you know, you did the reach emotions for me earlier. There's your reach of the day, man, because Cruz's desk job is safe and sound. He can lose 5 more fights in a row and still safe and sound. You are insane. That part of your argument here for why you're taking the slight dog in Dominick Cruz is to keep his desk job. This is my issue. The desk job, man. Like, I'm taking Kenny, not investing heavy in it, but it's close to a pick'em price. We'll see as the week goes on. There's not the question of where the hole is in Kenny's game to take advantage of, other than what Merab did, which was spam takedowns.
Right.
Cruz isn't going to do that.
No.
So,
it's not even about
the smartest guy potentially still in the division.
You know, sometimes you can win the fight and still show a hole. Maybe Casey Kenney plants too much on the front foot, and he's like, whoa, I'm going to calf kick right now, the trendiest thing in the game. Maybe even during a win, he showed a hole. You know, he's not going to do what Merab did. I definitely get that. But I think if he showed any kind of hole even in this 3-fight winning streak he's on, I think Dominick will really pounce on that. So, you know, it's a close fight. It's a unanimous decision. I might even have a 29-28. I think Kenny might really grind out one round. And maybe, like you said, you might be right about the gas thing. I kind of am really intrigued about that. It's a good point. I want to see where both of them are at in the 3rd round. And also, too, I say this, and this is where I was wrong with Gone to Rosenstrike, and I will admit it. This is the biggest fight of Casey Kenney's career. Like, sometimes you have a adrenaline dump. Sometimes it's a big moment. Even the main event of the prelims of the biggest card of the year so far, I just want to see where he's at 12 minutes into this fight. So, hey, it's a close fight. The bettors have it at plus 115, minus 145. It's going to be a close fight for a reason. I don't see a finish either way. I like the over 2.5 rounds for sure. But I'll give it a Cruz. I'm leaning more 29-28 than 30-27, to be honest with you, but I am leaning Cruz unanimous decision.
Yeah, and I'm leaning more 30-27 UD for Kenny, honestly. I think that he might just get it rolling from the beginning, and it might just kind of be forward momentum for him, to be honest. But we'll see.
Love it. There we go. Well, we're going to come back. We got more fight predictions to go. Thursday night live on Fight Bananas. We got Aaron the Dog breaking down the whole card. We'll talk to you guys very soon.